There you go. Welcome back, folks. Sorry, it was muted there. Let's restart. I like Texas. I like what's going on here and that they're playing very, very well. But I'm going with West Virginia and the 6.5 points. Things have been fantastic for West Virginia. They've been scalding hot. They've been playing well. Let's keep it rolling, folks, there. Sorry about that little hiccup, and we'll get rolling. There's our first game. Next game here, we're going Providence minus 5.5 against St. John's. Just heard as we started here that St. John's does not have Andre Curbelo. He is not dressed. And I also find that when this game is at MSG, I think it's a huge, huge difference. It is not at Carnesecca Arena. It's at MSG. St. John's has been a dead team walking. They've been non-competitive here. Are they a danger team that could be good here when you get to the Big East tournament? I guess. But Providence needs this game, playing well, much more cohesion, no Curbelo. You could argue, I guess, that is going to be a positive for them. I don't buy it. Providence lost to Xavier away in overtime in a very close battle. But outside of that, they played very, very well. This game at MSG is a different story. I don't trust St. John's, who I think has been very, very lifeless lately. That was a tough loss at Butler. Terrible loss there. They should have won that game. They didn't. They've lost 5 of their last 6. I think that the play inside of Bryce Hopkins, I think the play of Providence overall, who I think is underrated. I think Providence, even though they were super, super lucky last year, and people argued that, I think this team is more talented. I think players like Noah Locke, Jared Bynum, those type of players could absolutely be better. I am going here, second game, Providence minus 5.5 at St. John's, even though it's on the road, MSG. This one's tough because I don't believe Jaden Zachary is going to play, who left the game last time. If Zachary played, I would really like this a lot. I just don't think NC State can cover 6.5 points on the road. This is also a game you may want to look at the over because I think the defense here, teams are going to be able to get up and down the court. What I've been impressed with Boston College has been Quentin Post. Since Quentin Post has returned, the big man, he has been absolutely on fire for Boston College and has really made the difference. They're coming off a huge win over Virginia Tech. He has scored 29, 22, 24, 10 against Clemson, but they still won that game, 18 and 24. The big man inside for Boston College has been great. Even though I don't think Zachary's going to play, I don't know if NC State can cover a game with 6.5 points, folks. So I'll take Boston College plus 6.5 here, even in Chestnut Hill, even in Connie Forum, where I've been difficult. But you have to realize this is a team that won at Virginia Tech, and Zachary got hurt in that game. So I'll take Boston College plus 6.5 because I just don't think NC State can cover that amount on the road. Just before we got on here, Qudus Wahab, the big man for Georgetown, is not active today. It's a personal reason. He's not with the team. Last game didn't play well. No Wahab for Georgetown. Even though Georgetown has been hot, they've covered 7 straight games here, Georgetown. Even though they've been hot, Marquette bounced back off the loss, played poorly against UConn, bounce back spot, solid team, high floor, has always done well in big second halves as well. There's Jay Heath has just come back for Georgetown. He has yet to find his rhythm. I know Georgetown has been a covering machine, but no Wahab is a big difference. This is not a deep Georgetown Hoyas team. You're taking their starting center out of the lineup. I just found out about this. We are going here with Marquette minus 10.5. Kevin Willard, forget it. Penn State can shoot. They did have the win earlier in the season against Illinois. I get that. I do not trust them here. I don't trust Maryland rather here. I like the way Penn State can shoot the ball. Maryland with the comeback against Michigan State, they fell short. They've been sort of king of the little people. They did beat Minnesota. They did beat Nebraska. I think Penn State shooting keeps them in this game. They don't turn the ball over. I know Maryland's going to pressure on defense, but they're not great from beyond the arc here. They have struggled, only 30%. They're not great from inside the arc. This is I don't trust Kevin Willard spot. You're going to give me a conference game late in the season where the teams are familiar with each other, and you're going to give me 8.5 points. I will take Penn State here as well. Now, if you notice the theme, folks, so far, I am going with a lot of underdogs. We started with West Virginia plus 6.5 against Texas in a revenge spot, a bounce back spot. Second time they play. When teams play the second time, it's usually close. Then we went to Providence minus 5.5 only because of the news of Curbelo. Boston College getting 6.5. We took Penn State plus 8.5 against Maryland. No problem. Next one, Army-Navy. Always a close battle. Look at their games. Always games that are very, very close. This is now up to 5.5. I do not get it. We faded Army in a look-ahead spot. We faded Navy in a look-ahead spot. We got both of those games right earlier this year. Now they're battling. Navy won at Army this year, right where Army was starting to roll. I love Rucker, the point guard for Army. These games are always close. This is now up to 5.5. I will take Army on the road against their rival. I think they're the better basketball team. I think they have the best player on the floor. And I think 5.5 is too much in a revenge spot for Army. This is a classic Army spot, who has actually done better on the road as an underdog than they have at home here, have struggled at home, like them on the road here, getting 5. I'll take Florida State. Pittsburgh is very good against the spread. They've been excellent against the spread this year, Pittsburgh. If you look at your top teams this year, folks, against the spread overall, Pittsburgh is right at the top. The best teams in college basketball against the spread, Northwestern State, 17-6-1. Tied with them is Pittsburgh, 17-6-1. Then Florida Atlantic, Maryland Eastern Shore, Kansas State, and Stetson, who we'll get to in a little bit. So I know that Pittsburgh has covered, but Florida State at home usually is very competitive. And the second time around with Leonard Hamilton, I like those particular spots. This game was at home here. This game was at Pittsburgh, and Florida State actually beat them 71-64. So now you have a situation with Pittsburgh going on the road to Florida State. I think Florida State keeps this game close. I don't see Pittsburgh in a slam spot here. I don't. They're usually going to be very deliberate and keep this close. 4.5 at home with Florida State, who can shoot it, is fine by me. Again, another dog in a conference matchup late in the year. I project these games today, and I've seen this year after year, to be very close. I don't see a lot of blowouts late in the year when teams have played the second time in conference matchups here. Leonard Hamilton not playing for much, but on the road, Pittsburgh, I'll take the points with Florida State. This next one, folks, we'll get to your comments in a minute. Absolutely going to shock you. Yes, we are taking 8 points with Georgia against Kentucky. Anyone who watches this show knows that I fade Mike White in Georgia. But Terry Roberts, about a half hour ago, warming up. He's healthy. He's playing Terry Roberts, +8 at home against Kentucky. I don't know the status of Severe Wheeler, who was injured and did not play in the last game. Kentucky, yes, can dominate inside with Oscar Tshiebwe, but Kentucky lost to Arkansas by 15. That was big. They did win at home over Florida, but they did not cover in that game. They beat Ole Miss away. Congratulations on that one. And they lost the game to Kansas. Here comes Georgia. Georgia with Roberts back. They have solid guard play. They have struggled without Roberts lately. Auburn away got blown out. Texas A&M away got blown out. Mississippi home, bad loss, but it was close. No Terry Roberts. Assuming Terry Roberts starts in this game and we don't get any change on the news, we will actually take Mike White in Georgia. Yes, 100%. Now, keep in mind also that these teams actually played earlier this year, and Kentucky won 85-71. But in that game, they needed to pull away late with about 8 minutes left to go. This was a one-possession game. Now the game's in Georgia here. Kentucky, have they righted all their problems? I don't know. We're taking Georgia +8. Yeah, I like Bucknell +9.5 against Colgate. Colgate on the road, not a team that I trust. Colgate had a nice bounce back, and they got us in the last game against Lehigh with a big win. Now they're going on the road. Last time we saw Colgate on the road, 61-60, they lost. The time before that against BU, they played well. The time before that, they barely beat Holy Cross. They've been very up and down, Colgate. Why? Because they rely on the three-pointer. They're a very good three-point shooting team. But the other thing that Matt Langle's group has struggled with, which is not typical, is Matt Langle's group sometimes can get a little sloppy and are not great on the boards. Here's Bucknell. This is a rivalry game. Bucknell can play well. Bucknell can cover this game at home. And Bucknell at home beat Army by 6. Bucknell at home, throughout the year, they had a close battle with Lehigh. They played Navy away, almost won that game, Navy, in a close battle and covered that one. So Bucknell has been playing well lately. I don't trust Colgate. They have not been great against the spread. We've had a couple losses at home by a half point on a last-second shot. I don't trust Colgate here on the road, +9.5, even though they burned us last time, no problem. You know my struggles with Duquesne. We've talked about struggles in the A10, but I'd like to point out here in the A10 that we did get this one right. In the last matchup for Duquesne, again, there is always information that comes out late, and if a player is ruled out, it can really change it. We hammered Duquesne in the last game, even though I told you I wasn't going to play it because they were playing George Mason. And in that game, George Mason, we found out that Victor Bailey was out in that matchup. So we took them to start, we took them at the half, and we got it to the window. St. Bonaventure usually is playing well. They have not played well lately, but they're now on the road. They're now on the road against Duquesne. Now, they beat Duquesne earlier this year, but St. Bonaventure beat VCU away, beat Richmond away. Those are two of the most impressive wins you're going to get. And then they lost at home to Dayton, who seems to have had some momentum lately. Then they beat Dayton at home, which was a big win. And then they lost to LaSalle. So you're playing Duquesne. They have good guards. They keep the game close. Duquesne has been very streaky for us. I'll take the 6.5. I know it's a bounce back revenge spot for Duquesne. And you know that I've had this place in my heart for Duquesne, even though we struggled to handicap them all year long. 6.5 on the road here in the A10. I will take that. Not one of my top plays, but I do think I'm going to go with St. Bonaventure in there. Let's see if we get some comments here, folks, throughout the entire thing. Here we go. Yep, sorry about the mute. We're ready to go now. Continue the fate of Texas. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it 100%. Continue the fate of Texas. You would think that this is a slam spot for Texas today. I don't think so. I think it's West Virginia. Kevin here, Ole Miss giving 9 home to South Carolina. I know they lost 8 straight and they're 2-8 on the road, but 9 is too high, even with Kermit Davis. Yeah, Kev, my issue is I've struggled with Ole Miss. I do think it's too high. South Carolina has been so untrustworthy. It's very hard for me to see Ole Miss winning any game by 10. But South Carolina has been so bad. To me, that's a stay away. It is not one of my top plays today. I saw it. I thought the same thing you did, which is how are they favored by 9? But South Carolina at times has been lifeless. They lost at home by double digits to Ole Miss. So maybe Ole Miss has their number. To me, that is a stay away. Here's from Frank. Pitt plays everybody close, Frank. I totally agree with you on that one. Now they're going on the road. Yes, I understand the payback spot, but Florida State can shoot well at home, has been hot as well. Except Louisville. Yeah, we'll get to Louisville. They're playing Miami today. God help the Cardinals today. Absolutely. We got Jerry here. Bama versus Auburn. Am I crazy like the Bama on the road? Yeah, Jerry, the issue with this game, we're going to get to this. In fact, I'll talk about this one right now. Everyone is taking Auburn. Everyone is saying rivalry spot, Bama, Auburn at home. Bama got blown. It was blown out on the road by Oklahoma. So we've seen a flat Bama team. I like Bama. They were supposed to be flat against Florida earlier this week. How'd that turn out? I like Bama in this game. I think they are that good. People are looking at the fragility of the top 4 teams here in college basketball, which right now on my big board here at FTN is Purdue, Houston, Alabama, and Kansas. I have Kansas over Texas, even though Texas is number 1 in the Big 12 because Kansas has 10 quad 1 wins. No one has 10 quad 1 wins. I think Bama's that good. I think they're legit. I have seen them in these spots in the past where they've been able to pull it out late. Auburn's offense is not good enough to pull away. So you're not dealing with a team that's going to get out and dominate. Auburn's going to be ready for this game. Auburn won at Houston. Auburn came back at Houston. I am on Alabama today. People love Auburn. Everyone's pounding Auburn. The Sharps are pounding Auburn. In this one situation, I am taking the slight road favorite. It's probably one of the only times I'm doing it today. Josh, same thing, 2.5. Now I'm going with Alabama. I'm going with Bama in that spot. That's who I believe in. So, again, we'll put that one up right now. Alabama minus 2.5 against Auburn. I get it. Rivalry game, only 2.5. Begging you to take Alabama. That's correct. And sometimes the public is going to be right. I don't know where the public is on this game. I'm going to be on Alabama. I think they're that good. I think Alabama is one of the elite teams, and I know it's a rivalry spot, but I'm going with the Crimson in that one. I'm also going with Creighton minus 4 against Connecticut. Folks, Creighton is scalding hot. Creighton is looking like the team that we thought they were going to be at the beginning of the year, and I believe in them. Right now, they're up to number 9 in KenPom. They have won 3, 6, 7 straight games after the 6-game losing streak where Creighton was 6-6 on 1. A lot of those games out Ryan Kalkbrenner, who was sick and was out. They lost to Connecticut away in a close game. They lost to Xavier away in a close game when Xavier had Fremantle. It's a close game. And they come back, beat Providence at home, beat Butler away, beat St. John's at home, beat Xavier at home, beat Georgetown away, beat Villanova, beat Seton Hall. And what's important here is in that Xavier game, Fremantle played. He played and had 18 points. So they're one of the few people that has beaten Xavier with Fremantle. That's a huge win. I like this spot. They played Connecticut earlier. They lost by 9. That was when they were sort of broken and not playing well, and they still almost covered. They went totally dry for the last 3 or 4 minutes, and that's why they lost at Connecticut 69-60, even though they weren't playing well. I think it's a revenge spot. I know Connecticut's played well, recency bias. We saw them blow out Marquette at home. Everyone's fired up. I'm not sold here on UConn whatsoever. I am taking Creighton -4 at home against Connecticut. Lafayette's been good to us. Remember Lafayette with a terrible record here at home. Now they're playing Boston University. I still on the Lafayette train. Even though Lafayette does not have a great record, Lafayette has played well with the backdoors, with the patience. You look at there right now, they're 8-18. They're 6-7 in the Patriot League. And what this team has done is they won 4 straight games after they were 2-14, 0-3 Lafayette. 4 straight wins. Then they lose to rival Lehigh. It happens. Lehigh's a very good team. Loyola Maryland, they win. Colgate away, really close game. They don't cover on a last basket. Navy, bizarre game, just did not play well, which is where everyone got off the Lafayette train. But I'm staying on there. Lehigh home, lost by 2, missed a cover by a half point, bounced back and pounded Holy Cross on the road. I kind of like them here. I do. They lost in overtime away back on Thursday, January 5th. That's when they were terrible. They're much better now. BU coming in has beaten Loyola, but it was a close game, and they beat American. That's a close game. And prior to that, they lost 3 straight. I think these are teams going in a different direction. I believe in Lafayette. I'm staying on the Lafayette train. Disciplined, playing well, sneaky team that could be very, very competitive here when they get to the conference and the league tournament. Let's keep moving. Just getting through our games here. There are matchups sometimes that defy the odds. Oklahoma was a 10-point underdog and went into Fog Allen and almost won that game. Oklahoma is a well-coached team with Porter Moser. Came over from Loyola Chicago. Oklahoma needs this game badly. You know, Oklahoma is sitting there. You look at their numbers. I have on the outside of my big board, but you can make a very compelling case that if they can just get hot, they should make it in. Oklahoma is 12-12 and 2-9. And you're going to tell me I'm absolutely nuts to think they can make it in the tournament. Look at their numbers, folks. Look at them in terms of the net. Oklahoma, number 2 strength of schedule in the country. Oklahoma has the second best strength of schedule of any team in college basketball with the exception of Kansas. Oklahoma has also played 13 quad 1 games, 13, and they have 4 quad 1 wins. Yes, they're 2-9. Yes, they're 12-12, but they have 4 quad 1 wins. You know who have more quad 1 wins than any of the following teams: Michigan, Arizona State, Virginia Tech, North Carolina, of course, Missouri, Oregon, New Mexico, Florida, Ohio State, Memphis, more than Kentucky, he only has 1. Oklahoma is not getting in at 2-9, but Oklahoma needs to start winning these games. You're going to get a maximum effort from them here. They have Kansas at home. They have Kansas State at home. They have Texas away. And then they get Texas Tech, Iowa State, Kansas State, and TCU. This is the season for Oklahoma today. At home, getting 3.5 when they only lost by 4 away at Kansas. Playing well. I expect a big game from Grant Sherfield, who looks like an NBA player. I'm expecting a big game from the Groves brothers. I'm expecting a 3-point defense, which is elite right now, to be fantastic. I like Oklahoma here, getting 3.5, and I never fade Bill Self, but in this spot, I think I will. It's almost tempting you to take Kansas. We are not going to do that. This one I'd be careful and I'd stay away from here. Rutgers plus 5.5. Without Mag, I love Rutgers normally, but without Mawat Mag, I am concerned about this Rutgers team because you've heard me talk about the Jenga puzzle. When you have teams like a Virginia, you have teams like a Rutgers, and you take one player away, it can often fall apart. Mawat Mag was a great defender for them. He is now out for the year. They got buried at Indiana, but came back and made it close. They had a great win against Michigan State, semi-away. That was the game I think Mag got hurt. Illinois has been tough at home. Illinois can hit the boards, especially the offensive boards. They're great at defending inside the arc. It's tough. 5.5, to me, I'm staying away from this game. Can't bet it in Jersey. Could I drive over to New York? Sure, and bet it. Yes, I'm not going to do that. It's close. 5.5 is a big number. I would stay away from this game because without Mawat Mag, I want to see it. My heart is rooting for Rutgers. I would love to see Rutgers win. This could easily be a 10, 12-point win for Illinois, who has been playing better with Brad Underwood, even though Sky Clark, the point guard, still not on the team. They've reinvented themselves. They're a high-variance team, Illinois, but without Mag, I think this is a stay away. We got Burnwood Marshall. I think it's a sleepy spot here for Marshall. Marshall's offense is very, very high-powered, and they've been very good this year, but I think it's a bit of a sleepy spot with Marshall. They are comfortably, Marshall, at this point. They are 9-4 in the conference. They're 20-6 overall. They've played very well lately. They beat Coastal Carolina away, and they killed us in the cover. Prior to that, they lost to Louisiana. They have Georgia State away, a team that they hung 103 points on at home and absolutely destroyed. And now a team that basically won by 38 points is going on the road to Georgia State, and it's only 8 points. Just makes me feel a little uncomfortable. Georgia State keeping it close, flat spot for Marshall after the big win. Give me Georgia State +8 here against them. What is the rationale that North Carolina is favored by 7 points? Can you explain that to me? I don't really get it. I don't care. And I don't like Clemson at all, but I like Clemson to keep this game close here at North Carolina. Clemson has lost away at Boston College. They've lost home to Miami. That was a tough loss there in that battle. Now they're facing North Carolina. They have not played North Carolina this year. They're going away, but this is still a Clemson team that is great. They're number 1 in the ACC in 2-point interior offense. They're number 1 in the ACC in 2-point defense. They're also good at defending the three, only 31%. North Carolina looks broken. I heard there's some infighting between the backcourt of R.J. Davis and Caleb Love. Armando Bacot does not look like his dominant self. Pete Nance is struggling to get acclimated. They're just not playing well. 7 is a lot. I think it's too much. North Carolina, to cover a number like this, would have to get scalding hot from 3. I don't see them getting scalding hot against a good defensive Clemson team. I don't see them defending inside against a good Clemson team. I think that Clemson's going to cover this number here. I am going with Clemson +7 in that matchup. Coastal's usually good at home. They laid an egg against Marshall and didn't cover, but James Madison's been very streaky this year. We'll take Coastal +6.5 at home against James Madison. James Madison cooled off. They were scalding hot to start the year. Then they cooled off a little bit. They've been playing better. They got hot. Coastal, they beat at home. Louisiana Monroe, Old Dominion App State. And then what happens against Georgia Southern? They lose on the road here. I just think James Madison, first year in the Sun Belt, adjusting. Now you're going against a Coastal team that has been in the Sun Belt with Cliff Ellis, veteran coach here at home. You're dealing with teams here that they played earlier this year away. Coastal kept it close and only lost by 6. And in fact, in that matchup, you needed James Madison to really rally here to come back at the end. No, thank you. I don't believe in James Madison. 6.5, right around that number with a home conference underdog that we like. 5, 6.5. Give me Coastal +6.5 in that matchup. Could be a graphic play here. We have our graphic plays here at the end of the show. Could be a graphic play. Spoiler alert. How about Monmouth here with King Rice? Monmouth, who's been terrible this year, but has finally gotten things together lately. We have ridden Monmouth. God bless the Hawks down in Long Branch, New Jersey with Monmouth here. What have they done? They covered against UNC Wilmington in a loss on Thursday, January 26th. What did they do since then? 4 straight wins. Monmouth, 1-20, 0-8 in the CAA, coming over here in the CAA last year, in a longtime team Monmouth in the MAC, okay, MMAC. They beat North Carolina AT, they beat Delaware, they beat Drexel, they beat Stony Brook. They're scalding hot. Now they get tested here against Hofstra. They played Hofstra earlier this year. They lost by 20. That was in the midst of when they were terrible. Momentum matters. Give me Monmouth here, getting 11.5 points at home against Hofstra. I mean, even if they were playing terribly, you would make an argument that a team that lost by 20 on the road to Hofstra could probably cover this game, but they're playing much, much better right now. I like this team. Hofstra is scalding hot. It's a letdown spot for them. They've had 6 straight wins. They pounded Northeastern away. I get it. They have Drexel at home. They're looking good. They're 11-2. Hofstra tied with Charleston atop the CAA. You don't want any part of Monmouth right now. 11.5 at home. I love it. Drexel's been feisty. I like Drexel +2.5 here against Towson. Towson it's been very difficult for Towson this year. Ever since losing Gibson, they've just been very up and down. They lost at Hofstra away. They did beat Hampton home, but Hampton is terrible. Now they're playing Drexel. When they played Drexel at home earlier this year, Drexel with those guards on the perimeter can really guard you from 3-point range and can D you up a little bit. Drexel is a team that is dangerous. You have Towson, who only beat them by 6 earlier this year. Now you have Drexel, who beat Charleston at home, very dangerous. They're coming off a win against Delaware, and their last 3 home games, win over Hampton, win over Delaware, and win over Charleston. This Drexel team is playing well. Them getting points at home, absolutely like it. Give me them there. You know this one was coming. Bradley at home, ready for a pound spot. I don't like Murray State. And for those of you that jumped off the Murray State fade train, shame on you, because we know we are locked in there. Bradley has turned a corner. Bradley is playing well. They pounded Illinois State away by 18. They beat Northern Iowa away by 8, which is never easy. They beat Southern Illinois, who's one of the top teams here in the Missouri Valley. They beat them. They're playing well. They have a 5-game winning streak. And here's Murray State, who lost away at Indiana State by, 43 points, who lost to Drake at home by, 34 points. And now they're going on the road to Bradley, maybe one of the toughest places to play in the Missouri Valley Conference. Name your number with this one. Bradley to pound Murray State, rather. Sorry. Drake minus 6.5 for Southern Illinois. I've been accused of having a very soft spot here for Drake. My issue is Drake is well coached, and Drake still has Tucker DeVries, still has Roman Penn, still has Darnell Brody, still has DJ Wilkins, Garrett Sturtz, all the players from that team a couple years ago that made that magical run Drake has. And look at what Drake has done. All of a sudden here, out of nowhere, the Bulldogs in the Missouri Valley beat Evansville, beat Indiana State, beat Belmont away, beat Northern Iowa 2 overtimes, beat Valpo 2 overtimes. Murray State, after 2 games, 4 overtimes, Drake comes back and destroys Murray State away. Now they're coming home against Southern Illinois. They lost away to Southern Illinois earlier this year. They are 11-4 in the Missouri Valley. Southern Illinois is tied with them. So you have Drake, Bradley, and Southern Illinois all tied. You have Southern Illinois going on the road against Drake, who they only beat by 4 earlier this year, and now Drake is scalding hot. We'll take Drake and the 6.5, which is a big number. Like them a lot here. Notre Dame's dead man walking. Virginia Tech has killed us and destroyed us against Boston College. I get that. Terrible loss. Made no sense whatsoever. I'm going back to them because Notre Dame has been non-competitive here. It's 5. It's on the road. I get that. It's one of the few times I'm going to lay the 5. I really don't care. Virginia Tech, Notre Dame has been lifeless, plays no defense at all. Let's just assume that Virginia Tech is the type of team that can come back from a terrible loss at home that made no sense to Boston College. Remember, this is still a Virginia Tech team. As much as that was a terrible loss for us, this is still a Virginia Tech team that in their last few games has beat Duke at home, has beat Syracuse at home, was very competitive away at Miami, which is not easy, that beat Virginia at home. Let's just assume they bounce back here against Notre Dame. Notre Dame, 2-11, 10-14, and just lost to Georgia Tech and got blown out at home to Wake Forest. Their wins this year, Georgia Tech a home in overtime, and the win against Louisville at home. That's it. I can't take the points here with Virginia Tech, even though they looked poorly in the last game. Belmont minus 12, Illinois, Chicago. Illinois, Chicago, do not trust them on the road. Belmont starting to get things together. Still a veteran team. Casey Alexander still shoots the 3 well, coming off a loss to Missouri State. They've had 3 losses in their last 4 games. They're playing an Illinois, Chicago team that they already beat away by 6. They shoot the 3 very well. Illinois, Chicago, 2-13, has lost 11 of their last 12 games. Not a team on the road that I'm going to take. Was destroyed away by Missouri State, lost by 10 to Valpo. Belmont's better than Valpo. I like Belmont here to blow out Illinois State. I mentioned earlier Stetson Hatters have been hot. Stetson Hatters plus 1.5 on the road going to North Florida. I like Stetson. We've backed them throughout the year. Disciplined team that can play defense as well in the A-Sun. Love what Donnie Jones does. And if you look at them here within conference, Stetson in A-Sun conference play, shooting over 40% from three-point range and number 1 in the A-Sun at defending the three-pointer. Like their matchup here, they're playing North Florida. They beat North Florida at home by 6. They've been playing well. They've won their last 3. I like Stetson as an underdog. I think they're a sneaky, sneaky team here in the A-Sun. Yeah, I'll take Fordham at Davidson. We've been up and down, and basically we've come to grips, folks, with the fact that the only time Fordham really has not played well lately was the game that we went to. Fordham has been competitive. They lost the cover at Richmond last week. That was a tough one late. They played really, really well. I like this Fordham team, and I don't like this Davidson team. So, again, you have Davidson at home. You have the 5 number. I think Fordham's going to bounce back here. I like the Rams here on the road. Vandy with the massive win against Tennessee. That reeks letdown spot to me. Florida at home playing very well. Florida got the cover against Kentucky. I believe in their defense. I believe in Colin Castleton in this matchup. Florida needs to continue to win and make the tournament. They are 13-11. They are 6-5, but they've had some quad 1 wins. That was a bad loss to Alabama. They did not cover. Now they're home. They have a chance here to get a couple wins in a row. Vanderbilt, Mississippi, that would put them at 8-5 in the SEC. That would put them at 15-11 overall, getting them ready for Arkansas, who looks to be really, really tough. But I like what Todd Golden has his team doing, and I expect them to play well, and I do not trust Vanderbilt on the road. This one is a stay away until we get more information. Two pieces of information you got to know here about this game. Number one is Mike Miles going to play. If Mike Miles plays at home for TCU, folks, all bets are off. You also have to know if LJ Cryer is going to play, who left the last game early. So right now, I have a slight lean to Baylor. That is based on my opinion that LJ Cryer is going to play and that Mike Miles is not going to play. Eddie Lampkin, the big guy, has already been ruled out. One of the weaknesses with Baylor is stopping teams inside. No Lampkin's going to make a big, big difference here. I like Baylor, but this pick is only made if LJ Cryer plays for Baylor and Mike Miles sits for TCU. Any other combination, it's a stay away. Don't like Duke here at all. Love Virginia. Could be a graphic play. Love Virginia. Virginia is on a mission here to win this ACC. For the most part, they've been pretty good. That was a very solid one we saw. Right now, Virginia, 10-3, Pittsburgh, 10-3, Clemson, 10-3, Miami, 10-4. What I like here is that you're a veteran Virginia team playing a young Duke team. So you have John Shire as a first-year coach playing Virginia, and this is the first matchup of the year for Duke and Virginia. Veteran team, Tony Bennett, Kihei Clark, Jaden Gardner. You have hot shooting here with Virginia, and they've been able to shoot it from three, which really is the key to their success given their style. 38% from three-point range. That's top 20 in the country, and 38% with inside the ACC three-point shooting, which is also super, super impressive. I like Isaac McNeely, the freshman, is one of the best shooters around that you don't know about. Give me here Virginia to beat Duke. I don't like a young, inexperienced, inconsistent Duke team on the road against a rival who's in first place right now, wants the conference, that has a veteran, well-coached team. Terrible spot for Duke. Virginia -6. Wisconsin's been playing well. I like the Badgers here. Wisconsin -3 at Nebraska. Tyler Wall actually got over his prop. Mike Kuchar here does an amazing job, of course, with the props for us as well at FTN. He's almost at 100 units up here for his props. Tyler Wall's a guy he's stuck with. He got to the window. It's another guy I would look at again today. Yes, Nebraska has been tough at home on occasion, but I like this disciplined Badgers team on the road with a small number. San Diego State is starting to separate themselves. They're separating themselves from Nevada last night, who struggled against Fresno State. They're separating themselves against Boise State, who only has 1 or maybe 0 now, depending. Quad 1 wins. New Mexico, no house last night, got blitzed at Air Force. San Diego State starting to separate here in the Mountain West. UNLV coming on the road. San Diego State is a very, very sneaky team. Despite that last game where you had the guard kicked out of the game with the fight against Utah State, San Diego State still got that win. Trammell was kicked out. I like the Aztecs. They're a sleepy March team. They were a top 15 team to start the year. Now their defense is getting better. Now Matt Bradley is starting to be consistent scoring. Watch out for San Diego State here at home. Richmond -7 against Loyola Chicago. I'll continue the fade against Loyola Chicago. And why wouldn't I? For those that don't know, Loyola Chicago, one of the worst teams in all of college basketball at covering. Loyola Chicago is the 3rd worst team in college basketball against the spread. The worst one is Tulsa. We got them against Houston last week. The 2nd worst one is Notre Dame. We are fading them today. And the 3rd one is Loyola Chicago, 6-17. So we are taking Richmond -7.5 there. NJIT can be frisky at home, but we trust Maine. I like Maine as a slight dog. If this was 2.5, 3.5, I wouldn't like it. But I'll go with Maine here and fade NJIT even at home as a slight favorite. We'll go with Maine. Kennesaw State, interesting part with the Kennesaw State game. This is a scheduling quirk. Kennesaw State in the ASUN right now. What a job that Amir Abdul-Rahim has done. They are tied at 11-2 atop the leaderboard with Liberty. They played Jacksonville State away. They won that game by 2 on Thursday. Now, normally this would be a sleepy spot because they have Liberty coming up on Thursday, February 16th. That is going to be a battle for, in essence, what I think is going to be the ASUN regular season championship. But because they played Jackson State already on Thursday and are now playing them again at home on Saturday, I think they're ready. I think they've seen it. I think Abdul Rahim's going to have a great game plan. This is not a sleepy spot. What makes this not a sleepy spot is the fact that they've already seen them. They had the close battle. Now I think Kennesaw State's ready to roll. I see them getting up right away in this matchup and just moving forward. I'll lay the double digits, even though Liberty is on the horizon. Yeah, Georgia Tech, whatever. Georgia Tech's been terrible. Wake Forest, 13 points. Wake Forest at home is a different type of team. They need this win. They're on the bubble as well. Right now, I do have the Demon Deacons in. They beat North Carolina last week, but they need this win. Georgia Tech, 13. If you want to fade it, you think it's too much backdoor cover, that's fine. I'll go with them there. Scott Cross covers, and look, it was a little frisky in the last game because he ended up covered by a half a point, and we needed that foul with about 1.9 seconds left to get it. But I believe in Troy, and this is a huge matchup here against Louisiana at home. Scott Cross has been very good for us against the spread. I like Troy at home. They're playing Louisiana. Now, this year they played Louisiana once already, and they lost by 15. They had a rough patch there, Troy, where they lost 5 of 6, but they beat Texas State at home. They beat South Alabama at home and covered. Now they're going against Louisiana. I like them in this spot here against Louisiana. Louisiana coming off a loss away against Southern Miss. Now they're going to Troy. It's a close game. It's a close matchup. I simply believe in Scott Cross, who has won me a lot of money over the years. We are going with Troy in that matchup. Radford in a bounce-back spot, -4 against Charleston Southern. Radford disappointing in their loss. Always have a tough game against Gardner-Webb, but I expected them to do well. Radford beat Winthrop at home by 3, and then the tough loss to Gardner-Webb. They are simply too good of a team to have this situation. I know Charleston Southern can be tough, and they only beat them by 5, but I like Radford, who is now 10-3 Radford in the Big South. They are trailing UNC Asheville by 1 game. And they have UNC Asheville coming up at home on Thursday. Since they lost to Gardner-Webb, I see them as a bounce back against Charleston Southern. Had they beaten Gardner-Webb, I could argue this is a sleepy spot. I don't see it, though. I believe here in the Highlanders and Radford, they're going to go into that game with this game as a W. So I will lay the 4 points here. A lot of people on Michigan today. I am not. I like Indiana. I always fade Michigan. You know that. They've been very good at home. But if you can limit Hunter Dickinson and play good defense on the perimeter, you have a chance. Race Thompson is back. Indiana well coached. Trace Jackson Davis always does well against Dickinson. Should be able to battle him a little bit. To me, this is a coin flip. I'm taking Indiana +2, even on the road. Arkansas, Nick Smith, the prize freshman, top 10 potential lottery pick, is back with the team. He practiced and he's expected to play. Excuse me. What a job that Eric Musselman has done with this Arkansas team. An Arkansas team that people liked as a Final Four team. They were 11-1 to start the year. The only loss was 3 points to Creighton on a neutral. Then they really struggled because Trevon Brazile, star forward for them, out for the year with a knee injury. Just a 6'10", big guy inside, had played very well. But look at what they've done with Arkansas. Arkansas, a team that is disciplined. Anthony Black is the point guard. Now Nick Smith is coming back today, and he's going to play. They beat Mississippi, LSU. They lost a close game away at Baylor only by 3. Beat Texas A&M, South Carolina, and then blitz Kentucky on the road by 15 in Lexington, despite not having Nick Smith. Now, does Nick Smith matter? Well, you tell me. In the games he's played this year, where he's played the full game and has not been injured, 16, 22, and 21. Nick Smith can fill it up. Arkansas at home, Mississippi State, offensive trouble. No way. Love the Razorbacks. Be careful this Razorback team. Nick Smith comes back. He bolsters their bench. No Brazile. They've adjusted, and that's a big win at Lexington. Love Arkansas today. Hilton Magic, Iowa State. Yes, they lost on the road against West Virginia. They're a disciplined team. They're tough to beat at home. Here comes Oklahoma State. And you remember what happened earlier this year. If you don't think that they're going to have payback on their mind, Iowa State winning that game the entire time against Oklahoma State. And then Oklahoma State makes a massive move late in that game. Caleb Grill got hurt and left. Iowa State was up 19-8. Dominating the game. I was bragging about how it was only 1 point spread. Then Caleb Grill, who's critical for them because their offense can struggle, 3-point shooter, goes out in an injury and they lose by 2 points. I think they get payback here. 6 points. People are going to love Oklahoma State. I do not. Couple more we'll run through here. I want to get you out of here. Just so many games to talk about. USC, this is my issue with USC. They have been a different team since the big man inside has gotten hurt. Since the big man, Josh Morgan, the 6'11" junior, has gotten hurt, this team has really struggled. They played Washington State at home. Yes, they ended up getting us an in-game cover there over Washington State, but he went out injured in that game. They are a different team, USC. They played Washington at home, who's awful, did not cover, won by 6. They played Oregon, who's scalding hot away, got blown out by 18. Now they're playing Oregon State without the big man inside, assuming he doesn't play. I do not like USC on the road here. 8.5 points, even as bad as the Beavers have been, without the big 6'11" inside, they're not a great rebounding team with him. They don't have a lot of depth, and now they're missing one key chess piece. So you're going to look at the records, you're going to look at the ranking, and you're going to say, oh, USC will bounce back. I'll be careful with this game as well. I do like St. Mary's to bounce back here against Portland. Portland can be feast or famine with a three-pointer. Yes, I know it's on the road, but St. Mary's with a brutal loss to Loyola Marymount. That was a terrible spot coming off the big Gonzaga win. I think they get hot here, and they end up winning this game. And what I love about St. Mary's, which I can't complain about the Gales, one of the absolute best players in the country, freshman that you don't know about, Aiden Mahaney, 6'3", 180 freshman. Look at what Aiden Mahaney has done. Super quick, thin guard, 20 points, 17 points, 18 points, 24 points, multiple games with threes, makes his free throws. Just a really solid player. I think he's good enough to get them by here on the road. Always like App State plus 3.5. App State plays very close games. Disciplined team, likes to control pace and tempo. At South Alabama here, I like App State getting 3.5. Yes, I think Texas Tech at some point is going to win a game. We've benefited from fading Texas Tech throughout the entire year. But Mark Adams here at home. Kansas State has started to get a little iffy. They've shown some trouble. Their dominant self, and they were fantastic early in the year, has not been there lately. Kansas State, if you look at what they've done over the last few games, lost away at Iowa State. They beat Florida at home, but that game was close for a long, long time. They pulled away at the end. Lost at Kansas by 12, gave up 90 points. Lost at home to Texas, should have won that game. TCU, they did beat at home 82-61, but they played at home against Texas Tech and they pulled away late. I just think at some point, I'm not going to universally fade Texas Tech every game the entire season, even though it's been very profitable. I think at some point they get it here. This may be the one that they get today. So I'm leaning Texas Tech +1 against Kansas State, but of course, not one of my top plays. Louisville stinks. Miami can't stumble. Miami's a half game behind the ACC. Louisville on the road, you want to get it? That's fine. I think Isaiah Wong and the group get scalding hot and just come out and dominate Louisville here. Can't take Louisville in any way, shape, or form. I am going with them. Let's get to some comments. I'll get to the graphic picks. Arkansas under Holiday. Yeah, with Smith back, I trust their defense, especially at home, and they can really lock down. The only thing I'm concerned about is an Arkansas offensive explosion that gets to the over here. But yes, I would lean under there. Josh Worth telling us that Miles is out. That is per Goodman. Yeah, if Miles is out, then I'm taking Baylor. I want to see if it's Cryer, because without Cryer for Baylor, that's a very tricky game. I want to see what happens there. So let's be careful. High rolling, better than writing down Mike's picks. High rolling, be careful, man, because it's a grind. If we get up early and we get a nice hot start, high rolling, you may want to lock in that profit and only pick and choose ones in the afternoon. Remember, I give you the full card here, but it's a progressive situation. So if we get down early, then we're going to go a little bit more in the afternoon. But if we're hot early and things are going well, since the lines are sharper, it's later in the year, I would be careful. And Holiday, Bob, let's roll, right, Holiday? We're going to keep rolling. Absolutely. Couple other games that I want to get to talk to you guys about really quick that I didn't have down, but I want to just mention. Mercer +3.5 against Chattanooga. Please be aware of that game. Chattanooga can shoot you in and out, and Chattanooga destroyed Mercer earlier this year, and now you're dealing with Mercer. It's only a 3.5 point spread. That one's a little frisky to me. Be careful. Bryant -1.5 against UMBC was also one I considered. Bryant has started to play well. I do call them cocky Bryant, but let's look here at the last few games. Bryant started to play well. UMBC's going the wrong way. UCF -14.5 against Tulsa. UCF, Taylor Hendricks may be able to cover this one by himself. Tulsa is horrific. UCF needs a win. They need to right the ship. I normally fade them, but Tulsa is the worst team in college basketball against the spread. So at some point, UCF has to cover. I would be questionable with that one. Take a look at it. I got Lehigh -7.5 against Loyola Maryland. I like the Lehigh team. I think Villanova, we got to the window last week against Villanova, but now -5 at home against Seton Hall. Sometimes I'm a game off. This could be the explosion game. Villanova did not look good last week. I was concerned against DePaul, but they did end up covering late. One of these games with Justin Moore back, Villanova is going to get up early and just run away a high. Could be today against Seton Hall. I am laying it against UMass Lowell with Vermont. Vermont is the class of the league. I'm laying the 4.5 there. Late night games you may want to consider. How about Gonzaga -11.5 against BYU? I don't like this BYU team at all. Gonzaga needs some wins here after the loss to St. Mary's. Offense looked good. I know they can be a little shaky, but that's one I consider as well. I love Washington State -6.5 against Washington. You know, Washington State, really quick on them. Washington State is a team that can make another argument, much like Oklahoma, that they should be in the NCAA tournament, but they're going to have to do significant damage here. They're only 10-15 and 5-9. But are you telling me that if Washington State can run the rest of their schedule, which is not crazy, Washington, Oregon State, Oregon, Stanford, Cal, Washington, let's say they run it and they're 16-15, and let's say they get to the Pac-12 finals, which can definitely happen. I mean, this is a Washington State team that has played close games throughout the year. They beat Arizona away by 13, one of the most impressive losses anyone has. They beat USC, was fully loaded, by 10. They lost to UCLA at home by 1. They lost to Arizona at home by 5. This is a team that battles, that has length, that defends. This is a very scary team, a la a Georgetown team a few years ago that went on a run and won the Big East tournament. Would not be surprised, and will be taking a future on Washington State winning the Pac-12. That's just another one I want you to consider. And the last one I'll throw out here, where did it go? There it is. Oregon +2.5 against UCLA. Oregon has been very hot. Dana Altman's got it right. Big 18-point win that they're coming off of. And then Folly Dante, the 7-footer, is back and healthy. Oregon made a big switch with their starting lineup, and since then has played very well. This is a team that lost to UCLA away by 9 earlier this year. Now they've beaten Colorado, Utah, Arizona State, USC, and now they're home. Be careful here with Oregon tonight as a slight dog. Holiday, Eastern Washington. Yeah, I'm staying away from this one. I normally like Eastern Washington. I do, but I'm staying away from this game in the Big Sky. They're playing Idaho away. It's 5. They dominated Idaho at home. Idaho hasn't played well, but they are coming off a big one over Sacramento State. Tricky game. I just think there's better spots. I do like Eastern Washington. It's just on this card, I decide not to go there, folks. Let's wrap it up and get out of here. I will go with the graphic plays. Here they come. Let's get them rolling here and see how we can do. Creighton -4. Creighton -4.5 against UConn. Hold on one second, folks. Let me get the comments out of there. Holiday, thank you. Creighton -4 against UConn. I like Creighton at home. There's Shireman, who came over, of course, from the Jackrabbits, has been fantastic for them this year. I think Creighton wins this game. I believe in them. I think they are a top 10 team, and I believe here in Creighton at home. I do not think UConn is ready to compete or keep this game close on the road. We'll make it a graphic play. How about Monmouth +11.5 against Hofstra? Been scalding hot with King Rice, being competitive. Hofstra on the road, 11.5 is a lot for Monmouth. King Rice was down big last time, came back to win. I believe in them. I believe in momentum. Assuming Miles is out, which we just heard per Jeff Goodman, and assuming LJ Cryer plays, I will take Baylor -1.5 against TCU. Without LJ Cryer, Cryer is a coin flip. I think there's better spots. So this game only, if Cryer's in and it looks like Miles is out, which means him and Lampkin are both out. Oh, God, this is a perfect graphic here by our guy Fox. What Bradley's going to do to Murray State today. Oh, dear Lord, what they're going to do. Bradley -11.5 against Murray State. A young Duke team is not going on the road and beating a veteran Virginia team. They're not. Virginia is playing well. They had a good win over an NC State team. The way that you're going to beat Virginia is you have to be able to be solid, disciplined team on defense. They're not. Duke is playing a lot of zone lately. They are lost in their man-to-man defense. I don't think Whitehead is playing with this game. He's out. Kihei Clark's going to limit Jeremy Roach. Forget it. Virginia -6. And give me Army +5, which is now 5.5. Army Navy. Give me Army +5.5 as the rivalry here on the road. I will take them as well. Folks, thank you for joining us. 53 minutes. Honored to have you with us. Like, subscribe, FTN. Let's get to the window. The lines are sharper, but we're at our high water point here of the entire season. FTN College Hoops. We're getting ready to go. Enjoy the Super Bowl tomorrow, everybody. Hopefully you get your bets in as well. I'm Mike Randle. Let's get to the window.